Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dr. Cammy Goes Keto, where today we are going to be talking about connection. I think that the more connected you are to yourself, to a higher power, and able to do it easily with others, the better and easier it is for you to stay on a food plan, to be eating successfully, and to be eating in a healthy way. So I want you to go back and think about, when was the last time that you ever really that you connected with somebody in a very intimate level, not just a text, not just a quick phone call, but really had a connection with somebody where you felt genuinely grateful, joy, harmony, peace with that person. And I want you to realize that it's probably been a while for most of us. We get so busy and we get so caught up in everything that we're doing that we don't take the time to connect to others. And I'm here to share a little bit today about how I feel that connection is really a discipline. It isn't just chemistry. The dedicated act of showing up and of being present in choosing empathy over ego. So it requires some work and some energy and some effort. And today we'll explore why connection requires discipline. And I hope that after we've gone through this video together, you'll be able to connect with people in a very intimate and rewarding way, more naturally and easier. I wanted to tell a quick story about how the other day when I was going out of my condo, in the hallway was my new neighbor who's elderly and using the walker. And she was trying to figure out how to get her recycled boxes, which were stuffed inside a garbage bag, all folded and in a garbage bag, down to recycling. I offered to take them down to her, and she said, "Well, I'm learning how to be more independent." So I was able to grab the top of the garbage bag and pull on the two strings on the sides and pull them up and over the bag so that she could just use her hand to to hold the bag and her walker as she went down the hallway. And as soon as I figured out how to do that for her, I said, "Well, look, we could pull it up like this and we could give it to you this way." And she looked at me and she just had a gleam in her eye and she said, "Look at me." And it was just the cutest moment. And I felt so connected to her. And I said, "Yes, look at you." And I went walking away and she went down the hallway on her own to take her recycling to the bin. So that just kind of, prefaces me to say that connection is a practice. It's not a feeling that you get. It requires discipline. And the other thing that it requires is vulnerability. And that's really important for us. It's difficult for people to be vulnerable with each other, especially if you're strangers or you don't know the situation or you are, um, out and about and dealing with life and its pressures. It's hard to take the time and the discipline to connect to others, but it is so ultra important. And I think that people don't really realize how important it truly is. So the discipline around the connection to people requires certain things. One of the things it requires is presence. You have to be present in that situation and in that interaction with somebody else. And yes, I was leaving my condo to go do something, and I didn't have a ton of time to be with her. But it didn't take that long to have a really close, connected interaction with my neighbor just by helping her rearrange her garbage bag a little bit. So it requires you to be present and requires some time. It also, to really connect with somebody, requires curiosity. You have to be willing to seek to understand and not just respond to them. After I offered to take her trash down for her, and she said, "No, I need to be more independent," then I was really curious about that and thought, how could I help this woman be more independent and still, get the job accomplished that she needs to have accomplished? And so that's when I was kind of curious about how the bag might work in a way that would be able to have her take it down by herself. You have to be vulnerable. You have to choose honesty over your image. And I think that that's really important. And we have a lot of ego out there. So we have to really be careful about keeping our ego in check in order to really be able to connect with others. And the other thing that you have to be is consistent. You have to show up to connect with others, even when it's not convenient for you, even when it's not easy, and even when, it may not be a time for you to feel connection, but that other person might really need the connection at that time. So it doesn't happen when it's convenient. It happens when we're making it a priority And when we choose to see and to be seen, I think that's really important. A lot of us go through life wanting to hide. I think I hide behind my weight sometimes. And it's really important to be vulnerable enough to be willing to be seen and to connect with others. So there's lots of barriers that we have to connection right now in our lives. And one of them is technology and superficial connection. That's something that is really easy for us to hide behind, to text people. I know that a lot of younger people tend to want to text and not call people on the phone. Like one of my sons never listens to his voicemail. I think both of them might not listen to their voicemail. So, after I call them, if they don't pick up the phone, then I leave them a text message. But they're very good about picking up the phone when their mother calls. Let me tell you that. So that's pretty cool. We are definitely very close and connected, the three of us. But another thing that is a barrier is fear. And fear of being judged, fear of looking foolish. When you go to connect with somebody, there's, unsafe feeling there with me that happens. And I carry a lot of emotional armor, to keep myself safe and to be sure that I don't get hurt. And when you're trying to connect with other people and to really feel a deep connection with somebody, you have to be willing to give up some of that safety. And then our ego gets in the way. Our ego is always, judging and looking at, how can I do this better? How can I look good? How can I look successful? And when you're really trying to connect with somebody on a deep level, it's not about that. It's about listening. It's about being present. It's about being curious about what they need. It's about responding to them in a way that can allow them to connect back to you. And then that connection between each of you is established. So how do you place connection into your life on a daily basis? One of the things that I wanted to talk about was the micro moments of presence. I like that term, the micro moments of presence in your life, where you can just be walking through the store and just connect eyes with somebody. I like to do this. It's really fun. When you're out and about and you have a smile on your face, people will naturally be attracted to looking at your face with a smile on it. And then as they look at you, you can just, look them straight in the eye, and you don't do it in a pervasive or an invasive kind of way. You just glance right in their eyes and give them a smile. And most of the time I will get a smile back. And if I don't, then at least I've helped that person know that somebody's out there in a way that's trying to connect with them. The other thing that you can do is you can be a good listener. Making connections with other people requires very good listening, empathetic listening, a curiosity about it that we mentioned, and not having a agenda on what you're trying to say to the other person. Before I sobered up, I always had an agenda, and my agenda was to make sure that I was being heard and that what I was saying was important and that you need to listen. And I think a lot of people go through life that way, and really being calm and present and listening is really important. The other thing you can do in your daily life is schedule some connection. I just went on a wonderful walk this morning with my friend. Yay, we walked the steep hill twice, and that was our goal. And we thought it would take us 2 months, and it only took us 3 times of trying. So we're really, really happy about that. And it really helped us to connect. So we had the discipline of the connection, and we're very good about not saying that we can't go to our walks. When we say we're going to walk, we're going to show up. We're very dedicated to each other. So that's a scheduled walk that we do every week now. The other thing that can make you feel connected is handwriting notes. I know this is an old-fashioned thing, and I'm getting older, and, I love to send cards. People know that about me. I love to write letters. I think it's really a fun way to stay connected to people, and people really enjoy getting something in the mail other than a bill or something that's not fun. So that's another thing that you can do. Phone-free meals with a friend is another thing that you can do. Try to put your phone down and say, hey, let's just eat today for, a half hour, an hour without checking our phone or our texts, and being totally committed to each other in a connection that way. Practicing gratitude is another way to stay connected in your life. Paying attention to the things that are going right, not the things that are going wrong, and the things that are happening in your life in a really wonderful and joyful way. And the other thing that's really important is that you need self connection first. I think you need to be really connected to yourself and to God and to understand that it's really important for you to have a good sense of self, to continue to work on that if you don't have it, and to do things like meditation, journaling, sitting quiet with your eyes out in the sunlight for 15 minutes a day without your glasses or contacts in so you can get some of that natural light. Those are things that you can do to try to stay connected to yourself. So, in closing, I wanted to just say that, imagine a world where everybody treated connection as a discipline, like as a really important thing to do every day. And when people woke up in the morning, one of the things that they would do is stay connected. And Tim Noakes, who is part of my nutrition network, does say, I think he's the one that says there's like 5 important things like food, water, shelter, those 5, the 5 necessary things. One of them is connection and relationships. And we really thrive when we do have strong connections with others. And so I invite you to do some of those things to make one small act of connection every day and to practice it with discipline, to make the commitment to be out connecting with others, smiling, looking people in the eye, spending some time alone to connect closely with yourself so that you can let others know what your wants and needs are in a non-judgmental, matter-of-fact kind of way with safe boundaries. And getting what you need requires that you take the discipline to connect with others. So when we practice the discipline of connection, I really truly believe that we create a world where everyone feels seen, valued, and alive. And I think that's really, really important to pay attention to because suicide rates are off the charts. Veterans and PTSD and just so many people out there that are needing more love and more connection. And we really need to be the ones to give it to them. We need to be giving it to each other. That's the only way that it's really going to work. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you can go out and connect with some discipline today. And that can help you to take better care of yourself, including your food and your diet. All right, everybody, take care. Dr. Cammy signing off. And I'll put a link in there too to there's a summit that's going on that Quit Sugar Summit is putting on. And it's about the roller coaster of sugar and diabetes, I believe. And it's a great summit. So I'll put that in the chat for you guys to look at and to connect to. All right, everybody, take care. Bye.